run everyone through this thought experiment. So my daughter's going to grow up with a father with one eye. And at some point she might say, I want one eye. Right? I identify as somebody with one eyeball. Which, by the way, is far less important than your gender, just physiologically speaking. And so if I take her to the doctor and I say, can you just enucleate that eye for us because she identifies as a one eye, she wants to be just like her dad. What would the doctor say? They'd say, you're crazy and I'm going to have you arrested. That's what they should say. And this is for a physiological intervention that is far less important than your actual gender and your reproductive organs. Like, we have to stop this madness. This has gone too far. I asked before about what evidence is there that there is benefit for these so-called standards of care? I mean, anyone can say that they have a standard of care, but it has to be based on some kind of evidence and research. And when you've done systematic reviews, which is the gold standard for how you come to a conclusion within the scientific community, systematic reviews of 61 other systematic reviews, and you find little to no evidence that there's benefits for this, maybe you just press pause. Maybe you just press pause. Because if we're doing permanent physiological interventions to children that have permanently disfiguring them for some hope of a benefit that is not conclusive, then maybe we should press pause. Like, that's all we're saying. Press pause. And actually, that actually is even less than that. All we're saying is let's not put taxpayer money toward it. Right? This is no different than how this Congress deals with the Hyde Amendment. This is a controversial issue. Abortion is a controversial issue. And so we say, look, we disagree on this, so let's make sure we don't put taxpayer funding toward it. That's all this bill is. Let's not put taxpayer funding towards something that is so obviously unproven and contentious. Actually, I don't even think it's really not that contentious. 70% of Americans oppose it. So it's actually, the American people are pretty much on the side of not doing this, or at least pressing the pause button. Dr. Grossman, you're a child psychiatrist. Can you expand upon the profound lack of clinical reviews and the long-term impacts of these treatments, puberty blockers, hormones, and surgeries?
Well, yes, as I said, we don't have the kind of studies that we would like. And I think it's very important for people to understand that when we talk about standards of care and we talk about guidelines and all the various associations that have come out for gender-affirming care and about politics and partisanshipness, those organizations themselves are rife with politics. They are permeated with politics.
Can you expand on that? Tell us how those activists have pressured dissenting voices in this
Well, yes,
field.
I just interviewed a number of doctors for my book, pediatricians, endocrinologists, who reported back to me on the fact that when they tried to speak up and have panel discussions or presentations that challenged gender-affirming care at the American Academy of Pediatrics or at the Endocrine Society, they're simply not given that opportunity.
Dan Crenshaw made a perfect point about his daughter, if his daughter wanted to have one eye like his father, that he could just take her to the hospital and go to the doctor and say, my daughter identifies as a one-eye girl and she wants to have her eye, one of her eyes removed so she can be like her father because she identifies as a one-eye person. And what Dan was saying is he would hope that the doctor would say, you're crazy and raise a stink about it and not do it, right? But when it comes to changing a child's going through surgery to change, the way that they were born into to start to change their bodies, when it comes down to doing that right now, the pause that Dan's asking for is so, it's common sense. What is the urgency? What is the rush to go into doing this type of mutilization in children to change their sex? What is the rush? There is no studies, there is no research around it. And when the woman was sharing about how when she put her book together, she actually got a bunch of doctors and specialists to answer questions, and they were all saying that whenever they're in a forum and they raise questions about this topic, that they are being censored. They are encouraged not to raise question. I mean, even if you're for this, that has to raise a red flag that there's something wrong with what they're doing. It has to, because why can't anyone challenge this? Why can't they ask questions? Why can't they be against it and start a conversation about it and share why they're against it? Right? It's just ridiculous.